everyone. My name is Ann Simnecki, and I am a person with facial pain. I'm a third generation woman. My mother had it, and my grandmother had it also. When I was diagnosed 28 years ago, if you told me that I would get through the pain and be able to live my life and enjoy my family and pets and vacations and everything else that I enjoy again, and even laugh, I would not have believed you. But in fact, that is what happened. And while I appreciate the work that the neurosurgeons and the facial pain dentists have done for me, I am really indebted to my peers and mentors who have helped me through this. For example, Tom Watson, who was a fellow board member, once said that if you have TN and you can't talk, you have to listen. And you learn a lot more by listening than you do by talking. So thank you, Coach Watson, if you're here today, because that was really sage advice. And my favorite piece of advice came from another peer mentor, Cindy Zell. I was complaining to Cindy one day that I could not eat ice cream because of the cold. And I really love ice cream. And Cindy had just 2 words of advice for me: hot fudge. My favorite piece of advice yet. So this afternoon, we would like you to meet some really fierce peer mentors and learn a little bit about how they cope from day to day. I want to tell you a little bit about us. Between us, we have had 7 MVDs, 2 CFS leaks, 2 gamma knife procedures, and 1 rhizotomy. We've had 44 years of facial pain, and that sounds like a lot, but with that comes a lot of wisdom. So we'll begin by having everybody introduce themselves, and then we'll talk about how to distract yourself from the pain, being your own fierce advocate, how to laugh, how to find the positives in your life, and we will even address that elephant in the room, depression and suicide, because that is an important issue for a lot of us. So why don't I'll start and tell you that I used to say there's no magic bullet. And for me, that means I need to use a lot of modalities to overcome my pain. So not only do I take my medicine, I do acupuncture, I do upper cervical chiropractic, and I use medical marijuana. And that combination of things helps me. I now call this the Swiss cheese approach. So you just layer on the modalities until all the holes are covered up and the pain doesn't pop through the holes in the Swiss cheese. So why don't we move to Rosa and have you tell us a little bit about yourself and your favorite modality.
Thank you. My name is Rosa Jimenez. I work as a career licensed massage therapist in Eugene, Oregon. Growing up, so I've had arthritis since I was 6 years old. I have a number of rare and difficult to manage conditions. So I had an incredible tool bag of tools I could use for self-care and healing and relief. And to my great disappointment, those things didn't work for me when I got trigeminal neuralgia. So now my favorite things include lymphatic drainage massage, taking medications, medical cannabis in the form of CBD, distraction, comedy, and actually going to work, giving massage, being able to focus on someone else and their needs and giving them relief.
Okay, we'll come back to some of those to get some more detail. But in the meantime, let's talk to Heidi.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. My name is Heidi Wickgren, and I reside in Jupiter, Florida. And I am recently retired. I was a marketing rep for the Hartford Insurance Company for 10 years, and just recently retired and moved to Florida from California. So I'm a survivor of trigeminal neuralgia for 8 years. I was diagnosed back in 2014. Prior to being diagnosed, I had 3 root canals and sinus surgery. That was not necessary. I'm sure we all have had similar stories like that. Let's see here. I just met the Facial Pain Association about 2 years ago, and I became a peer mentor, and really am enjoying that. So after I was diagnosed with trigeminal neuralgia, I had Gamma Knife, and that didn't work. That failed. And then I had MVD. I've had now 5 MVDs. After my 4th MVD, I became very fierce and decided to take matters into my own hands. And so I took about 1 year and 3 months to just research. And I found Dr. Mark Linsky. And he did my 5th MVD and back in June 2021. And he told me to take my life back. So now I've decided to become a victor and not a victim. And I take medication every day. I finally have a wonderful doctor, pain management doctor, who has helped me work with me and figure out, exactly what medications will work and not work. That took 4 years. So I would say the most important piece of advice is be your own advocate, go to medical school and learn as much as you possibly can about trigeminal neuralgia, and find a doctor that is willing to go with you through this journey, because it's a tough journey.
Yeah. And those doctors are hard to find because trigeminal neuropathic pain is a rare condition. And doctors don't learn about it in medical school. And you might know more about it than your doctor does. And finding a doctor who will listen is a godsend for me.
It really is.
Yeah. So can we talk about distraction? Because I know we all have interesting ways to distract ourselves. I mean, mine's not so out of the realm of possibilities for lots of people. My greatest distraction comes from my 3 grandchildren, my 3 grandsons. They just make me laugh. When I'm laughing, I'm not in pain, and they're just delightful. And they all know about my pain. They often ask about it. I have a little one who says, "Which side is the pain on?" They call me Dee, and he'll be careful to avoid it. So it's really very good to spend time with them and to also tell them so they can not play games like cannonball right into the right side of my face. But Rosa, you have some really interesting ways you distract yourself. Can you tell us about them?
So before I had surgery and had about 1 year of relief, and I'm still incredibly better off, I started to become very angry, and I could no longer do some of the coping techniques that used to work well for me, like doing art, listening to music, dancing around the house. So now, and during that time, I would do things in spite of the pain, like against it, like angrily go work in the yard. When I turn on a true crime documentary, I watch these stories of people who are survivors of terrible tragedies. Don't imagine, but I'm watching the story of someone, say, who is the survivor of a brutal attack. And I think to myself, now that's real pain. This person really suffers. And they're choosing to live and be happy. They talk about relationships with their grandchildren. They're educating, they're advocating, they're helping others. And that inspires me so greatly, because I feel that level of pain really does match what I'm experiencing. And I identify with that. And that inspires me to keep going and know that perhaps not today, but maybe in the future, I will be happy. I will be laughing. I will be dancing. Maybe one day I will jump into the ocean and go surfing again.
Um,
And Heidi, what do you do for distraction?
well, I have 20 things that bring me joy. And every month I make myself a new sign and I put different activities and things like my biggest thing that I do is I do woodwork. I'll go to Goodwill or Salvation Army and I'll pick up a nightstand or a table and chairs. And when I'm in pain, I have to get busy. I have to have a project. And my husband knows that. He always knows when I'm in pain, when it's really bad, when it's really starting to flare up. And I'll sand everything down. And it allows me to focus on what's in front of me, and I sand and I paint, or I'll color, or I'll garden. I love to get my hands in the soil, and I love to get dirty. And sometimes when I'm in so much pain, I'll turn on the music and I'll dance and scream.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Tell us
Let's
about
see.
your motivational signs, because I loved hearing about that.
Oh,
Mhm.
it started with when COVID hit and we were all in lockdown in Southern California. And sorry. And I got a notepad, and because I was bored, I was recovering from an MVD, and my husband bought me just some paper, some blank paper, big notepad, and some colored pencils. And I just started making signs for my neighborhood, and taping them all over my car in the driveway. So, and we lived in a very suburban area with lots of families and kids. And I would just write motivational signs like, stay safe, San Clemente. Thank you so much, healthcare providers. And it was kind of contagious. I mean, a lot of people were taking pictures of my car with all the signs all over them. And then like when friends just need, something to cheer them up, if they're having a tough day, I'll make a pretty sign and maybe bake some cookies and bring them over, put them on their front doorstep and text them and say, go look outside. And so it's just for me, giving and doing something for somebody else makes me feel better. So when I'm in pain, I'll pour my heart into the sign or baking, because I can control that. I can't control the pain that's going on in my head. But it allows me to just kind of not dwell on the pain so much, not curl up in a ball and be screaming and pulling my hair out like I usually do. So coloring, eating a popsicle, going for a walk, meditating, visualization has been really good for me. I do a lot of visualization. I visualize the sunset. I love sunsets. So when I have my flare-ups or when I would get the electric shocks, my husband and he would grab me and say, all right, the sun's setting in the ocean. What color do you see? And I'm like, I see red. It's like, okay, take a deep breath, big belly breath. Exhale, put your shoulders down, put your shoulders back. Okay, what color do you see now? The sun's going down. What color do you see? I see pink. I see purple. And then he would just kind of help me. And I would just visualize that sun setting, below the horizon in the ocean. And it was just, that's my favorite visualization, is the sun setting.
Oh, that's great. I'm going to try that. I love sunsets.
That's beautiful.
I like
May
sunsets.
I expand on what Heidi said?
Sure, please.
So one of the things that was really hard for me in the first 2.5 years before I met the surgeon who has helped me and is really my advocate and supporter is that while I was very skilled and practiced with meditation, breath work, I used to go for walks every day in the beautiful place where I live. Those things weren't enough for me anymore because the pain was so great that I needed something strong enough to overpower. So I think perhaps my longtime practice with other chronic pains is what made it not enough. And now that I've had a period of relief, now that I'm a peer mentor, I brought many of those things back because I realized I was no longer doing the things that were really investment in my self-care and longevity. And even if in the moment they don't take away the pain, they have value. My cells remember that I took care of them. They remember that I hydrated and applied nice products to my skin, for instance. So
you got some of your inspiration from Queer Eyed, right?
I did.
You want to tell us about that?
I would love to. So in many ways, I identify with Jonathan because partly because of the height, the fashion, the hair. And Jonathan likes to use the term baby zhuzhes. And I just love that because while watching the show, which is one of my reliefs, it really makes me feel better when times are really hard and I'm in a lot of pain that will not turn off. It's like I see the value in the people that they're doing the makeovers for in the little tiny steps. For instance, I now think to myself, I have this pain and I'm going to go ahead and do a little baby zhuzh and spray my essential oil toner that I made on my face. I'm going to go ahead and like baby zhuzh and like brush my hair, maybe put some braids in. My baby zhuzhes include things like breath work, my physical therapy exercises, stretching, joint mobility. So for me, mobilizing my feet and ankle joints makes for a much nicer day. So while the facial pain may be stronger, it still is nice to have my feet happy and therefore my whole body. But my baby zhuzhes include things like journaling. So I might write down, hey, today I have pain and I'm really thankful that I can call my dentist and say, can I please have a shot? In the beginning, he would say to me, but it only lasts a few hours, Rosa. And I'm like, so do medications. Why? I don't care.
Yeah, there's a few hours of relief,
please.
And what I figured out is that often after a shot, I will be without pain for maybe a few weeks.
Yeah, because it breaks the cycle.
It does.
Break that pain cycle. It's very valuable. And for those who haven't figured it out, zhuzh is self-care.
They break my pain cycle.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a hard situation to talk about, but I want to be sure we do. There are a lot of people who are very depressed, and we feel that too sometimes. And some want to take their own lives. And that's really sad, because I don't believe that anybody really wants to die. I think people just want to be out of the pain. And as a peer mentor, when I hear someone who's having suicidal ideology, I tell them that, and I try and focus on how we can take care of the pain. And I also suggest getting professional help, because as a peer mentor, I am not a professional psychologist. But Heidi, can you talk about that for a little bit?
Sure. It's a very tough conversation. It really is. It's a tough topic. I've been a peer mentor for about 2 years now, and I've had 2 people who have called me, one at 3 o'clock in the morning, and just said, I just can't do this anymore. And I can relate, because there was one time where it was the night before my first MVD, and I walked into my bedroom and poured an entire bottle of Norco into my hand and luckily my husband walked in and saw me and said, no, not today. This is not happening. You do think the thought just crosses your mind because there's just no relief. I mean, until you can find the right medications, until you find that right doctor, it's just very difficult. It's you think about it, and what I do and what I've told my mentees those two occasions is the moment you feel that helpless, not hopeless, you need to call somebody immediately and tell them, call your peer mentor, call your mentor, call your friend, call your husband, tell them immediately what you're feeling. And then I go and find a distraction to help me until that thought just dissipates. And that's why I do my motivational signs. That's why I do my woodwork. You have to find a distraction until that thought is no longer in your head. And what's helped me is because I had so many highs and so many lows, I finally got on an antidepressant, which has saved my life. And I'm so grateful for it. And my doctor and I have worked together. I was on a very high dose because I had suicidal thoughts. And now I'm down to only 40 milligrams. But it really, I'm a promoter of a medication for antidepressant if you are diagnosed with trigeminal neuralgia. I apologize. It's just a tough subject to talk about.
It's a very difficult situation. Now, the silver lining in an antidepressant is that tricyclic antidepressants are really very effective against neurological pain.
Yes, it is. It does help. I'm on Cymbalta, and it really helps with my neuropathic pain.
Mm-hmm.
So,
for me, there were 4 times where I seriously considered it. What I realized is the fight was exhausting. The fight was depressing. Yeah. While we didn't choose this, any of us, while it's not a source of sleep loss and stress and whole life changes that we agreed to, nonetheless, it's happening. And I need to accept so I can be happy again. I didn't want to get on the Facebook page for the Facial Pain Association because I thought I could not bear to see other people's success stories. I got to a point, and this is so not me, and my clients began to notice, and I'm grateful for the ones who stuck with me during that time. I would be so ugly jealous, just terrible envy of those folks who had a sudden pain, had an injury, got right in, got treatment, got diagnosed, and I would think that's so not fair. I want that. I need that. I deserve care. And so if I'd had a peer mentor, I know that person could have supported me so much. And of course, I didn't know what I didn't know at the time. Mm-hmm. And that is partly what gives me so much fulfillment in being a peer mentor to others and being like, yeah, be angry, be upset. That's right. That's justified. Yeah. So I used righteous indignance to get me through.
And you are fierce. You are fierce.
Fierce. Yeah. You have to be. Yeah. Or else you're not going to survive this. You have to be.
Maybe
and being your own advocate is so important. Like telling your doctors what you expect, what you need.
You have to tell them.
Even something as simple as bringing someone to an appointment with you. I know these are times of COVID, and doctors' offices don't want more than one person in the room with them. But for this condition, first of all, if you're in pain, you might not be able to absorb everything the doctor's saying. So having someone there to take notes and help you with questions is really important.
You're on medication.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also having your advocate or spouse, really, hear what's going on in your life makes them a better caregiver. And hearing it from someone else and not just from you. Not that you're not believed, but it just reinforces everything. And excuse me, they can better help you take care of yourself. Regina Gore, who you can easily contact through the FPA website, can set you up with someone who's from your area so she can help you. The peer mentor can help you find resources in your area. She can help you get set up with a peer mentor who's had the same condition you do. So say maybe TN caused by a tumor, so they can give you very specific advice. But really, as a peer mentor, all I do is just listen and validate. So validation is really important. So please use this peer mentor system and become a peer mentor yourself if you feel you have the ability to do so, because we are really needed. And I hope this generates more traffic through that peer mentor network. How else do we find the positives and manage our lives?
For me, something I've known for a long time is pain is something we do not notice in its absence.
Mm-hmm.
So often we don't realize when we're out of pain.
Yeah.
So, and something I try to avoid is constantly asking myself, how's my pain? Where's my pain? I've asked the people in my life to not show up and ask me unless they can see it. Unless they can see that I'm in pain. I don't want them to ask me, do you have pain today? How's your pain? Because if it's absent, I don't want to remind myself. I believe in the power of suggestion. Mm-hmm. So, I often will be like, shh, like, hear you. I heard you. I honor you. Just the same. Like, shh, I got the message. Thank you very much. You made the assist. And so noticing the absence of pain is one of my favorite things. And then I think, okay, I'm going to do the moment I couldn't do,
I actually announce it to whoever's in front of me. If I'm alone, I'll say it out loud. It's like having a moment. Okay, I'm just going to savor this. I'm going to savor this moment. I'm going to remember it and I'm going to savor it. And for me, it only lasts maybe 1 or 2 minutes, but then it's like, oh God, it was wonderful. It was so wonderful.
I want to talk about something that's really important to me, and that's the ability to say no. I'm going to have to say no to an event that I'd really like to attend on Wednesday night, but the weather looks terrible for me to be outside. And I don't want to end up with COVID on top of trigeminal neuropathy. So I'm going to have to this afternoon write an email to the host and say, I'm sorry, I can't come. But saying no is hard unless you think of it as a zhush and it's self-care. Then it's easy to say no if you think about it as taking care of yourself, because you just need to put yourself first sometimes.
You do, you have to.
I think that saying no is part of being a fierce advocate.
Yes, it is.
When I'm questioned, why are you saying no? Or why don't you want to do this? Or why don't you want to adhere to whatever I want? I say, because I like myself. Mm-hmm. Because I care about myself. Mm-hmm. So I need to advocate for myself. And advocating means I can't go surfing with you. I can't go on a mountain hike. I can't go on a bike ride and expose my face to the wind. Mm-hmm. Maybe another day. We can do something indoors, or we can do something else, but I'm advocating for myself by saying no. That's just not going to work for me. And that's hard, right? It's hard to accept. It
is hard. And you just said something that I'm going to keep in mind. Like, if you have to say no to something, having some activities in your toolbox that you can do most of the time to suggest instead is really great. Like, I can't go to the beach with you today, but we could go to the pottery studio instead. And
that's great. Yeah. I've never done that before, but saying no is really hard for me because I want to be there. I want to be involved, and I've lost some friends along the way because, I've had to say no. I can't go to a party. I can't go to a concert. It's too loud. I'm just going to end up sitting on the couch. Or, a couple times I've gone to people's houses and fallen asleep on their couch. I'm go over to dinner, dinner party, and it's like, and it's hard. It's hard to say no because you want to be there. You want to be involved, and you want to enjoy your friends and your family. And it's hard to say no. And sometimes I've had one person, you're so narcissistic. You always just like think about yourself. And I'm like, I have a horrible disease. I have to think about the consequences. I have to do forward thinking. Okay, so if I do this, how am I going to feel afterwards? Is it worth it?
Right.
Do I want to be in bed all day tomorrow? I don't. I don't.
I was going to say, someone once said to me, oh, people like you who are reluctant to commit to something that we want to do, so making plans, is you're trying to be controlling. You're controlling the situation. And I said, no, I care. I'm a really caring person. It's really hard on me when I agree to do something. And then at the last minute, I'm like, I can't do it. I'm not up to it. So I would rather not make the plans and cancel on you last minute. And it's not control. This is me caring about you.
And caring for yourself.
So true. So true. We're coming to the end of our time, and I guess I want to go around and say, just, there's one last piece of advice you'd like to give. And I think I have two, so you can have more than one too. I think finding your tribe is important. So finding people who understand where you're at, so you don't have to keep saying no or making excuses or explaining. I love being part of a support, even though I'm a support group leader. I love being part of a support group that's led by someone else. We've been meeting now for 3 years, and I consider them my close friends and members of my tribe because they understand. So I think finding people who understand that aren't part of your family and everyday routines, but people you can talk to and just spend time with is really valuable. And my other piece of advice would be to use the peer mentor system. We're here for you. That's why we all volunteer to be peer mentors. And come to us. We love talking to like-minded people who you are. And please use the system. It works. Okay. Heidi, do you have any last words of wisdom?
You just took pretty much the words right out of my mouth. Just be kind to yourself, and you're not alone. I felt so alone for so many years until I found FPA, and my first support Zoom meeting, I cried my eyes out because there was somebody out there. There were all those other people that absolutely knew exactly what I was feeling and what I was going through. And I wasn't alone anymore. And it feels so good. I sent an email to Rosa this morning, and it was like, oh my gosh, I can completely relate to what you experienced, at the pharmacy the other day. I completely understand. I didn't know somebody else had to go through something like that. It's just be kind to yourself, love yourself. We're here to help. And this is a horrible disease, and it's not fair. But there are ways to live your life and be happy. You just need to figure it out. And we're here to help you figure it out. Thank you for having me.
I would say my parting wisdom is everything you said. Use the peer mentors, get on the Facebook page, even if that's the only thing you do on Facebook, because I cannot tell you how much I wish I would have gotten on right away as soon as I discovered the FPA. I have lost all of my support, and I have received so much validation and support from the FPA. And that makes me fierce, and you have to be fierce. And I would say above all, be beyond reproach. I tell people, and since I had that run-in at the pharmacy where the new clerk almost wouldn't give me my medications because I wouldn't verbally tell her my name and date of birth, and I'm trying to hand her my ID and indicating I can't speak. I made this dorky little card that explains I have a horrific nerve disease called trigeminal neuralgia, and there's little pictures on it. So
That's a cute idea. Way to go.
It's
That's
helped.
awesome.
It's helped. So I tell people I have trigeminal neuralgia, period. I say it in a way, there are no questions, there's no back talk. I'm like, if I get a questioning look or they want to know more, I say it's a terrible nerve disease. There's nothing else like it. There's only a few other conditions that would rival for difficulty in treating, managing, surgery, success. And so that's it. I'm beyond reproach. I have this disease. I do what I have to do. I live how I can. I'm not asking you for your feedback. I'm not asking you to inquire further, and I'm not asking you to like it or agree with it. I'm telling you, I have this condition. I deal with it, and that's it.
You're right. So thank you, everyone, for being part of this panel and for listening. And I feel like we should be singing I'm Still Standing, but I'm not the musical one.
I say just keep moving.
Cat's tail?
Enjoy the rest of the conference, and maybe we'll see you all if you call us as peer mentors.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.